All right, guys, we are live right now with Laura from the DigiByte awareness team. We'll give everybody just a couple of seconds to get on the stream. Towards the end, I think if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I actually need to put my headphones in here. I just realized. Where'd I sit them? Hold on one second, guys. Okay, hold on. Got to put the headphones in. Always forget about that or else we'll get a really bad echo. So, here we go. All right. So, Laura, how are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm, considering everything in the market today, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. What do you think is going on with the market right now, you think?
I think it's a combination of things. I mean, really, ultimately, I think kind of we really don't know,
Right.
at like the most truest statement, as much as I could theorize, is that the right word to say? But theorize about it.
Yeah.
Theorize. I just made up a new word.
There you go.
I was reading a lot about the Bitcoin Cash fork and what it's doing to hash power, and I think that definitely is driving sentiment down in general. So that's kind of like just a bummer. But there's all kinds of we have such a small market cap that it's so it's like what is it? Someone described it. It's like a room full of sleeping cats, and something goes and they just and
that's how it is.
So I think it's just a very really early in the stage, so it's going to be volatile, but I'm hopeful. I mean, I think that the strong projects are going to ultimately be fine, but it's just we got to take our lumps.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the strong ones will be fine. I don't think all of them will, but
no.
Bitcoin Cash is certainly taking a beating, which deservedly so. But that's a different situation. I think, for me, I think a lot of people have been calling for these kind of numbers for Bitcoin, between 4,000 and 5,000 somewhere. You have your extreme people that say 1,000 to 3,000, but that's not really the norm. Most people think it's going to go down, touch somewhere in the 4s, and go back up. But I think that I'm kind of torn on whether or not the Bitcoin Cash drama is actually affecting the market cap, or if it's just kind of a camouflage for the market manipulation. The market makers are always looking for something they can use to push the price down so it looks natural. But
that's a really good point, and that's something I've thought about as well. With different, I was just trying to do some reading just on what's been going on, and that definitely I was like, wow, the timing is really interesting. Yeah. So, who knows? I got to get my magic 8-ball out, check it.
Well, it's just, and then you have some people like, God, what is his name? Tom Lee, that guy, the perma Bitcoin bull. He's from he goes on CNBC. It's actually Charlie Lee's brother, believe it or not. I found that out.
Oh,
recently.
Really?
Yeah, I did not know that. But he came out and he said, okay, I'm adjusting my prediction. My December 31st, 2018 prediction, I'm dropping it from 25,000 to 15,000. I'm like, we got. I don't see that happening between now and December 31st. But we'd be lucky to be above 8 at this point.
Well, I think these predictions are they're tough. There's some ballsy people out there that are throwing out numbers and dates and predictions like that, because I do think that it's not just the psychology of the market. This isn't just stocks. This is technology. So if we have something come online that's a big user case that all of a sudden, like let's say the DX exchange comes online, they're talking about coming online in December, and what will that do? That's like that's an evolution of the technology, right? So it's like it's psychological, but it also is the actual evolution of the technology. So I don't know how you can pinpoint prices based on that.
And that's something I've been talking on my channel a lot lately about, which is there actually a correlation between use case adoption and price? There doesn't really seem to be, because the technology is not better or significantly more or less used than it was back in December and January. But look at the prices. So obviously back then the prices were overinflated and now they're a little underinflated, but I don't think that really there is a huge connection between at least in the short term. By short term, I mean the next.
Oh, you just went out. I can't hear you. Oh, I can't hear you. Nope. You can mime it. Do you know sign language? I don't. Maybe I should sing a DigiByte song.
Yeah,
while we're waiting.
talk about DigiByte. That's good. Yeah, do that.
I'm not gonna sing a DigiByte song. Even though we have been working on some DigiByte Christmas carols over at the DGBAT, so. Okay, I can hear you. But now your screen is frozen. It is Mercury retrograde. If it makes you feel any better. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, BitBoy.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Okay. Hold on here. Sorry about all the problems, guys. Don't usually have problems. It's bear market, you know.
It's a bear market and Mercury retrograde. My niece told me today that, you know, all computers will break today.
That's so weird. It should be. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. Bear market problems right there. You know, when the markets are down, you have technology problems, and that's the issue. Well,
I think you're giving it too much credit.
I like to say that about everything. You know.
I know.
You know, my kids, we go to McDonald's, you know, and they're like, "Oh, I want to get a Big Mac meal." I'm like, "Kids meal." Yeah, bear market, you know. I do use it for everything. I use it in places that doesn't even make sense, you know. You know, we ran out of toilet paper. I was like, bear market, you know. So, all right, Laura, let's talk about DigiByte.
Okay.
That's the reason you're here. So, give us a little bit of your background and how you got involved in DigiByte and what your role is.
Okay. My background was I used to teach college mathematics and then discovered cryptos and blockchain and really realized that I needed to, you know, not needed, but I really wanted to spend more time focusing on public education because a lot of people didn't realize that this is, you know, happening. And so this summer I was on the DigiByte main channel, and they had just formed the awareness team. And I have a group of people, and I started a meetup here in Wilmington. And so I said, and it's been, you know, it's a great, it's just a great group of people. And so I said, you know, if you don't have a meetup, maybe you can try that. You know, if you don't have one in your town, I can help you. And so they had just started the awareness team, and what they were doing was they were trying to get people from different areas and build a team out of that. And so when I said I was focused on education, meetups, and outreach, they were like, okay, well, can you come help us with that? And so I don't really reach out to businesses and exchanges. That's not my deal. But we have like people who are business people and marketers and things like that, that they're great at it, but that's just not my role. Yeah. I'm more of a like education cheerleader, motivator, is the way I would describe my role in this.
Okay. Do you have pom-poms? Did you buy pom-poms yet or no?
Oh my gosh, I need Digipoms. That sounded weird, but yes, I need that.
I like it. I think it would be good. You guys should order those.
I think we should.
You can get anything made these days.
I know, really. We've been looking at, I want to get Pop Rocks made with DigiByte symbol and call them DigiRocks, because we had a booth a few weeks ago and at a conference, and so I put Pop Rocks out, and people were coming for the Pop Rocks, and then we were like, and we'll give you free DigiByte if you download the wallet. And so then they came for the Pop Rocks and stayed for the DigiByte, and I was like, next conference I'm gonna have DigiRocks.
Well, I do enjoy Pop Rocks. I also enjoy a good Rockstar energy drink. This video is not brought to you by Rockstar, but Blue Rockstar is the best. And I had this idea one time. I was like, you know what? You know what'd be really good? I'm going to get some Pop Rocks, and I'm going to get an energy drink, and I'm, you know, going to chase. That was a terrible idea. I was foaming at the mouth, you know?
You're lucky that's all you were doing.
If I would have been pulled over, I was going to jail or the vet, because I thought I had rabies. But, yeah, so what in your mind separates DigiByte from other projects, and what went into that? I guess the better question is, how did you specifically get hooked up with DigiByte?
Okay. Well, I've researched several projects on different blockchains, and I really like the UTXO blockchains. I like proof of work. That just resonated with me. And so I was, had been doing research on Bitcoin and Litecoin, and then my sister put DigiByte on my radar, and she said, I think you really need to take a look at this one. And when I realized it was, at that time, it was 4.5 years old, I was like, wow, it's been around for, like, in crypto land, it's a long time. And that it, kept this, source code. He took this, it wasn't a fork of Litecoin, but it forked the source code. It has its own Genesis block.
It's not an official fork. It was like built on the block.
Right. It took, Jared took that
like
code
Litecoin did to Bitcoin.
Exactly. It's exactly right. And I was like, I think the easiest way to describe it, it's like Bitcoin's grandson. And so there was that aspect of it. And then I researched Jared and like kind of his motivation. I always find it fascinating, why certain projects start, like who started them and why. And so I just really resonated with the whole message there. And I like the idea that they were, kind of hyper focused on speed, security, and decentralization. And that's, again, one of the, those are the things that I was looking for in a project. And then I met the community, and the community is, there are some really great communities out there, but there was something about this community, like it just was a natural fit for me. And so I kind of just slid right in there, and I just kind of have my, the kind of things I work on is just trying to talk to people and get people to start meetups and get people to, research education options. So it just was a good niche for me within that group. So, but I, really like the chain overall.
Yeah, I think that DigiByte's got obviously a very strong community. I do a lot of giveaways on my channel and on Twitter and stuff like that. And really, when I'm doing giveaways on Twitter, I'm trying to grow my follower base. Big surprise, right? It's a marketing cost. And so I give away a ton of stuff. And, I always look for projects when I'm giving something away that's going to have excitement behind it. So that's, a lot of times I'll use DigiByte. I gave away 3,000 DigiByte plus 2 Litecoins, which is another strong community, and a Ledger a couple weeks ago. Nice. Because I know the DigiByte people are going to show up. I know they're going to, champion their coin, which is good. You got to have that community. I think that right now where we're at in crypto is, I think eventually whatever the product is going to be the most important thing. But right now, the marketing is the most important thing, and there's no better way to market yourself other than having a strong community and, a strong spokesperson kind of leader, which you guys have Jarrett Tate. But what do you think about that? Do you agree with that?
No, I do. And I think that, I think it's a combination of, you've got to have that strong tech, and you have to have strong marketing. But I really think the communities that have those grassroots marketing campaigns, like DigiByte, like Litecoin, like Bitcoin, and some of the others, like Dogecoin, exactly. So you've got these communities that Tron. They've got these really active communities that are just taking on that role themselves to try to help educate people about their project and also work together. And so I think that this is an interesting time in crypto, because I think those projects that had ICOs that were had 4 developers and 9 marketers, that's pretty unbalanced, and I think that that's going to be shown during like this bear market is pretty sucky. But one of the things it's going to do, it's going to let those strong communities rise up, and it's going to get rid of those ones that just really aren't serious or don't have the tech or don't have the development behind them to survive. And I think that that's necessary. We've something like 1,700 tokens right now, and
no,
I don't know.
Is it
more than that now?
It's way more than that if you take what's not on CoinMarketCap.
Okay.
But during this bear market, we've gone from about 1,400 maybe in January to now over 2,000 just on CoinMarketCap.
Oh, is it? Okay, because I haven't even.
It's just a number you don't pay a lot of attention to, but I actually just happened to notice it the other day. I was like, holy crap, we're over 2,000.
Yeah, and I think there's, some of those are just projects that thought they could do more than they really could. Some of those are just nefarious people who are, going to be an exit scam. And so
I think that's the minority, though.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think
they're a much larger level of incompetence.
Yeah, I think that's like good intentions, but really didn't understand, because we have a huge deficit of developers right now in blockchain. And there's a lot of education initiatives to get those developers, educated and ready to work and help us to, build the ecosystem. But we're just in that really awkward stage right now. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it progresses. I'm hopeful for DigiByte, because it's a 24/7 machine. I always say it's a 25/8 machine at the awareness team, because we're global, and so somebody's always up and somebody's always working. Yeah. And it's hard even for me to sleep sometimes, because I'll wake up, if I can't sleep at 4, I'm like, oh, I wonder if Rudy's up, like what's he saying, so we're kind of always working on something. So and trying to be proactive, not just for the community marketing effort, but also, the developers are trying to be proactive, and they're trying to see, okay, what's that next problem? Because, with all technology, it's just kind of constantly solving that next issue, solving that next problem, whether it be scalability or security or 51% attack or whatever. They're kind of always, they don't rest on their laurels. And I think this is the time to not get comfortable, like to work.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I think a lot of the work is being done, behind. Somebody asked me how old I am. I'm 36. I just turned 36. I don't know why I had that question.
That's really important.
Crypto's chain. Somebody just said I'm 37. You're wrong on that. I'm 36. I don't know why they're all asking me. What? Oh, Rusty's in here. What's up, Rusty? But I've been talking about that a lot on my channel also, which is I talk about a lot of stuff on my channel. I make 12 videos a week. So, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes right now, and when we look at the last bull run and we look at, okay, what actually triggered the bear market? Well, people have different theories. I mean, a couple of things that are undeniable is, number one, we're just overbought on everything. Like the numbers were just so inflated. That's obviously what happens at the top of a bull market. Number two, the actual moment when the bear market started was when Brian Armstrong tweeted from Coinbase that they had not made a decision on the next thing to go on Coinbase, which, if you remember back then, everything was Ripple's going on Coinbase. And if you actually look back, that was the exact hour that the bear market started, was when he made that tweet. A lot of people don't know that.
Interesting. Absolutely. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, that didn't cause the bear market, but that's the moment when it started.
Right.
So those things are like undeniable. But if you start breaking down like where things started going negative and where things started going south, it's because Bitcoin couldn't handle all the transactions. And Ethereum as well, with the CryptoKitties, almost brought down the whole network and all that stuff. But, Bitcoin could not handle everything. It wasn't fast enough. People were using Litecoin to transfer money, which didn't make sense to people, because they're like, well, if Bitcoin's supposed to be the best, why do I have to use this other coin to transfer value and make trades faster? So Bitcoin was not prepared for the spotlight. And so what we really have to do a better job of in this bear market, and I say we, not because it involves me at all, it really just involves developers, to develop the projects to a point where when we get that much traffic again, whether it be Bitcoin or DigiByte or whatever it might be, that these networks can handle that load, because they proved they couldn't. So the only time you're going to be able to fix it's kind of like, in sports, you're going along, you're cruising well. I remember the Falcons one year, that's my team. One year we were 8-0 at halfway through the season. We were doing really great. And then we got beat. And once we got beat, then we realized, okay, now we got to go back to the drawing board, and we had to figure out what we have to do better. I say we like I'm involved in that team, which I'm not, but I would like to be. I am a season ticket holder. But that's kind of what we saw, like we hit this point where we realized the problems we had to fix in crypto, we had to fix with the networks, and now during this bear market when there isn't as much stress on the networks, now we can fix all these problems for the next time. So is that something that you think is probably the case?
Absolutely. I think that, again, like, all type, like any kind of new technology like this, it's not going to come out perfect, right? It's not going to come out of the gates ready to go. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to like get tested. And I think that it was, that was a test. I mean, I can't lie. I was excited to see the numbers because I was like, what? that. But at the same time, I was a little apprehensive because, the use cases weren't really, people weren't, I went to Best Buy to try and buy a hardware wallet last December, and they were like, I don't know what that is. Yeah. So I was like, why are we seeing these prices when Best Buy doesn't know what a hardware wallet is? So I realized, I was like, wow, that's just all speculation. That's not the price that goes along with early adoption. And so I think it probably was on like some sort of perfect storm of speculation and hype right after the holidays. Everyone went home and said, I just made a gazillion, blah, blah, blah. And then everyone's like wanting to get in.
And nobody wants to go back home for Thanksgiving and Christmas this year.
Well,
where all their families are like, I told you it was a bubble.
I'm one of those like extreme optimists because, what I tell people, and I didn't tell very many people to get in, but I did tell them, hey, this is something I'm, well, because it's just like, and I always said, I was like, this is what I'm doing. I think this is like the evolution of the internet. And I have a master's degree in mathematics. I'm not like, I'm not a genius, but people tend to listen to me when I talk about technology. Yeah. So when especially my students, I said, you need to research this. And, but you also have to put it on them to do their due diligence, to not invest more than they can afford to lose, and yeah, so I didn't really tell too many people. So I'm still very proud to raise my crypto flag, just because as much as it's been knocked down, like you said, there's work that's still happening. There's that hasn't stalled any of the work. And like I just watched in Oslo, Jared was at a crypto finance conference there, and they had like a panel of like people from EOS and Bitcoin and I think Ethereum or Ethereum Classic and Zen and DigiByte. So they had like these different project leaders, and they were just talking about their development through, like where they're at. And the discussion, and I thought, my gosh, these guys have not skipped a beat. They're not paying attention. These developers, they're not looking at price. They're not, and thank God they're not.
Well, interestingly enough, I had this theory that basically there were, there were two types of people in crypto. Only two. The two types were people who are only in crypto for money, and people that are in crypto for the larger revolution of crypto. However, the larger movement and revolution and believe in crypto, like, also those people are interested in money. However, the first group of people, that's all they care about. Like, I won't invest in XRP. Like, I tell people it's a good investment. People are going to make money on it, but I personally won't touch it because I feel like it hurts my platform of decentralization. What do I talk to? However, I've now changed my mind on this, and there is a third group of people. I did a live stream with Cryptosomniac. I'm not sure if you know their channel, but they're involved with Monarch wallet, stuff like that. Jason Randall and Snay and all those guys. So I did a live stream with them last Monday night, and they brought up a really good point. One of the guys did, I think the CMO of Monarch, he said, there's actually people out there, there are developers that don't care about the money, that don't necessarily care about the larger movement of cryptocurrency, but they want to have like a legacy for what they did for blockchain, which that's the developer mindset. You know, that's why these developers, they're not worried about the price, and they're not worried about how many people are using it right now, because they're more concerned with getting the technology right and then letting that be their legacy. And I just thought that was really cool, and that really goes with what you're saying, how, you know, there's people out there slaving away on these projects, and they're not making a lot of money, and, you know, their technology is not really being used that much yet.
Yeah, and I really hope for those people who are, you know, who pretty much devoted their lives and their careers to this. I hope for them and for all of us that they are successful in those endeavors. And one thing I do see is I see these communities working a lot more closely together, mm-hmm. and I think that's gonna also kind of build the whole space up and make it more solid, because the more they kind of work together to integrate, you know, their skill sets, you know, like we have DigiShield, and then other projects use that, you know, so we're integrating those, we're integrating other people's or other chains or other projects' technology. And I think as we start kind of, I say we, it's not me, when they.
I say we on my channel all the time, and I just mean my channel. It's me and the voices in my head. We here at BitBoy.
There's a whole world that's being built with that, but I do think in the fact that people like you that are working hard to educate, people like me that are trying to get out into the communities, it's not just the developers. It wouldn't work if it was just them, and it wouldn't work if it was just us. We need all of us working together, and I think we're maturing. I think when I first, to be fully honest, when this first got on my radar, I was like, wow, this is another asset class. My sister called me and she was like, I think we're looking at another currency, because she discovered Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? And so when I started looking at it, I was like, whoa, this is like a whole nother asset class that we've never seen. And so I was interested in initially for investment. But then as I started reading more about it, you go down that rabbit hole, you get like a mini in economics and, mini degree, and you just are looking at the world a little bit differently, and you realize the need for the technology is so extremely great right now. And, I think it's being proved every day, the need for this sort of decentralized technology, and maintaining our own data and things like that. So I evolved. I was one of those people that was in it for profit at first. And then as I got in, I was like, whoa, not like profit be damned, but profit will come for the good projects. And so, not that I don't look at the values, but it's not like the first thing in my head anymore. Now I'm like, well, what projects are we partnering up with? Like at DigiByte, we've got some really, like UTrust, believe they're supposed to come out Q1 2019, and then DX Exchange is coming out. We've got Autumn ID and BID. And so we've got these partnerships that we're working with other companies, with other groups, like the African Blockchain Alliance, so we're, work is being done even if it's not reflected in price yet. I guess that's my point, I guess. Yeah,
and, we're definitely seeing that all across the board. Well, speaking of the DigiByte price and basically where we talked about it before we came on air about where it was on CoinMarketCap and things like that. And here's what I want to know from you. Where is the limit for DigiByte? Where do you see DigiByte being able to go? Are you mandated because you're on the awareness team to say it can be number one?
No, I didn't. No, the only mandate we have is do no harm to DigiByte. That's our only rule. Geez, that's a tough question.
The ceiling. That's the word I was trying. Where is the ceiling for DigiByte?
That's a tough question because it can be integrated in so many different ways. Because of its speed, it could, be a currency, but they're working on digi assets now, which will allow you to do smart contracts on the DigiByte blockchain really easily. And so, I could see it having, that Ethereum type level of integration for projects. So I could see, it as a currency. I could see it as an asset. Then I also, with all the speed and the fact that there's 21 billion, with Internet of Things, we're going to need a blockchain that can help incorporate that, right, and facilitate the Internet of Things. So I don't know. It's hard to say, because it's like, okay, here's a perfect example. It's like saying when the first computer came out, do you see Facebook? Well, no. I mean, we couldn't even comprehend Facebook when computers first came out. I feel like we're looking at the first computer with these initial strong blockchains, and we're like, what are they going to do? And I feel like Steve Jobs a little bit. I should wear like a black turtleneck and be like, I don't know. You haven't told me yet. That was like his answer, to someone, like, what's it going to do? And he's like, I don't know. We haven't discovered it yet. So I think it's at that level right now, which is also exciting and terrifying, because you don't know, what's the full potential. I mean, when I really sit down and I try and think about the full potential, my mind goes a little nuts. And but that's true for a lot of different chains as well. So it's hard for me to say, like, it's going to be number one. It's going to, outpace so and so and what. But I do think it's going to be very relevant. I I think that the strength of the community is going to be seen as the space evolves, is going to be seen as, kind of a really good, powerful movement of education, just like with the Litecoin community and the Bitcoin community, and these other communities are really now pushing out to educate the communities, the real life communities. So, and then we have, incredibly talented developers, and then Telegram channels. We've got support systems in place for just about anything you can think of. And then we also have the support system of the website for the DigiByte awareness team. So I think that DigiByte has incredible potential because it has great developers, it's got a great community, and we're getting organized in how we can support the broader community. So I don't know. I think the sky's the limit. That's the long answer. And then that's my short answer.
You said
sky's the limit.
Skycoin, it's like around 200.
Okay.
It's around 200. It's around 200.
So you
think it'll be around 200?
Don't get me in trouble. Don't get me in trouble, BitBoy.
Do no harm. Well, the thing about it is like it's great everything DigiByte is trying to do, but almost every other project's trying to do that too. So
exactly.
I mean, you can slice it and dice it and say, well, no, but we're trying to do this exact one thing. But in general, that's kind of what's going on. And I saw a talk. I've talked about this a good bit from Alex Mashinsky from Celsius back at the Blockchain World Conference in July in New Jersey, which I just basically played poker most of the time. But he said that the thing is what we really need is we need the developers, because they're so few and far between. Like, instead of trying to create all these new platforms, to actually start building on the platforms and start building the dApps, the DApps, the decentralized applications. That's really what we need, where we need some of the talented people going. But everybody has this idea that they're going to be the next thing, and DigiByte's been around for a long time. But I think that's where the trouble comes in. We do have there's basically two ways of thinking, in my opinion, on where cryptocurrency is going. It in this one aspect, which is it's either going to be where a lot of these projects, like we said, there's 2,000 where they start crumbling, and then once interoperability is more feasible, then we might see projects absorbing smaller projects. Like I look at something like Ambrosis, that is a very specific supply chain tracking project where they do a couple of other things, but their main focus is tracking food and pharmaceuticals. That's it. I can see a project like that eventually folding and moving and taking their blockchain and their technology and moving into a larger project like Walton Chain or VeChain, whatever it may be. So that's one way we could go. Or the other way is where basically the whole world is tokenized and you basically use a gift card everywhere you go. No matter what store you're shopping at, they've got their own token and you basically have a gift card. John McAfee thinks that's the way we're going. A lot of people think we're going the other direction. But the thing that is not really explained in all that is like that's great if everybody has their own token for spending, but how many platforms do we need? How many places do we need for these dApps to be built and things like that? And that's where it's hard, because I look at DigiByte and I say, okay, you're right. They got a great community. They've got great support. They have great technology. They've got great vision. Where's it at right now? Number 39?
36, I think.
36. Okay, so right now it's number 36. And so
same as you.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. DigiByte's my coin of the day. Okay, so we're looking at DigiByte at number 36, and then we look at all the projects that it's got to pass to get up there. And to me, there's two different types of cryptos. You have your store of value, and then you have your utility tokens, which is what DigiByte is, right? Can also be used as a currency, but it has utility. So if you take out all of the store of value coins, which I think in the top 36, there's probably about 7, maybe, if you count the privacy coins. So there's 23 approximately, or out of the top 36, there's 29 that you would have to pass to really get up there with the big boys, or at least be able to pass maybe 20 of them. So how does DigiByte do that? How do they get the attention?
That's a good question. And looking at CoinMarketCap, one thing that I think is really interesting to look at with CoinMarketCap, because I think you're right. I mean, that's the question that the awareness team is asking every day. What can we do to help DigiByte in its market cap? Who can we reach out to? What exchanges can we get on? Because now, and I will say this: we have that that market cap without Binance or Coinbase right now.
That's
so
true. Yeah, we'll talk about the Binance stuff in a minute.
Please don't.
Unless you don't want to.
Hey, ZZ. I'm just kidding.
I'll send you some DigiByte socks if you put us on.
I know. And those are some pretty big avenues. And so, having the DX exchange will be something similar to a Coinbase level platform for people to have those pairings. And so not being on one of those exchanges definitely keeps us lower for sure. Because
Great point.
The first thing people ask me when I send them DigiByte, say download the wallet, I'll send you some DigiByte. They'll say, so where can I buy it? And if they're new to crypto, they're not going to, they've got to go through so many hoops to get there. And that's an intermediate level of knowledge, not a beginner level of knowledge. So we're not accessible to the beginner level of knowledge yet. And we're working on it, but those things don't just happen. Coinbase doesn't just go, we like your logo, welcome. So it takes a while. We do have a pretty cool logo, but it takes a while to get on those big exchanges. And there's, especially with regulations and things that are kind of, floating in the air, I think everyone's a little twitchy, but I do think that will happen eventually. So I think that will give us a big boost. The other thing, when I look at CoinMarketCap, is we're 36 on the CoinMarketCap, but if you look at the mineable coins, we're actually much, much lower. Yeah. So, and that's the one that for me personally, I find the mineable coins, I think those seem to me to have more stability as far as the chain itself, the network itself. And so when you look at it in that way, it kind of gives you a different perspective. So as much as we are far from the top, I don't think that within the top 10 is unreachable for us if we can have certain things in place. Like you said, if we can get those dApps built on the DigiByte blockchain that are use cases that people can use every day, absolutely. And there's also, there's other projects too that I think will lift that up. Like I don't know if you've researched the Pillar wallet, but it's supposed to be like the grandma wallet for cryptos. Yeah. And a very interesting project. One of my best friends did, she beta tested for them, and she was just like, you just wouldn't believe it, Laura. Like it's just so much easier to use. And so that they start with just the ERC20s, but I do think that they're going to be looking at integrating DigiByte, and ultimately too, whoever takes Litecoin and Bitcoin, because it's also a UTXO like they are, and it shares their code, those same places should be able to accept DigiByte pretty easily. From what I understand, I'm not a developer. I asked the question though, and they were like, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a big deal if someone's already accepting Bitcoin or Litecoin for them to accept DigiByte. So, and that's another thing that we're working on at the awareness team, is to explain that to businesses, that if they're already in that camp, we can also be in that camp with them. Yeah. And I'm not trying to knock Bitcoin. I'm not saying let's be number one, let's knock down Bitcoin. Honestly, personally, for me, and my team might get mad at me, or my community might get mad at me, but Bitcoin is a special place in my heart. It's the flag of the revolution, and I would hate to see it get knocked off at number one personally, because I think, I don't know. I mean, it would just that would be a sad day for me, because I think it started it for all of us. It might have been started by the NSA. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It did give us, it gave us that seed of hope, and all we needed was that little seed. And man, people like Jared and people like Vitalik, they went crazy, and they were like, let me see what I can do. And it gave birth to a whole nother movement. So I don't know. I think we're going to get up there. It might take a little while, but
I think it's a great point about Binance, because even Binance is like an intermediate place to use. Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I ever used it. I've never bought a stock. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to read charts or how to use a market or anything, and I was like, what the heck? Where's the YouTube video? And so it's funny now, because the people that were making the YouTube videos back then, that I was watching to learn how to do it, like, are my friends now, and I do videos with them, which is really crazy. But You know, with that being said, having to use something other than Binance to get your coin is like even another level, you know? So I do think that once it does, if it gets on Binance, that'll be really, really good for the project. And that could definitely boost it, I think, into the top 20. I think that still there's some work to do. You know, I mean, I think there's definitely some garbage projects in the top 20 as well. But, you know, the ones that are the very, very worst have the most hype behind them. So it's going to be hard to pass those as well. So I do think that's a good point. What I want to do is we got about 20 more minutes. I just want to, you know, spend a couple of minutes talking about the Binance situation. Sure. Not go too in depth with it, but and then we'll take some questions. So I had this weird. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at the chat on my phone, and I had this weird thing where it showed that there were no chats, and then I closed my window and then opened it back up, and there were a ton. So we'll take. There were a lot of questions. We'll take questions like the last 15 minutes from the viewers. So just so everyone knows, generally what happened is that the community last year, the Twitter community, you know, there were some polls done, and they all said they wanted DigiByte on Binance. Binance required a listing fee. DigiByte refused to pay it, and then it became this kind of thing that was like almost a power struggle between Jared Tate, who his official role is not CEO. Does he have an official role? He's
just founder.
Right.
He's the only role. Yeah. So he's the only founder in the community.
Yeah. So there's a power struggle between the founder of DigiByte, Jared Tate, and CZ, where CZ is basically demanding an apology from DigiByte in order to get on Binance. And so it doesn't seem like that's going to be coming anytime soon. So what do you think the prospects at this point of DigiByte getting on Binance are? And, you know, what do you think it would take to mend that bridge?
You know, it's a good question. I'm not super hopeful that we're going to get on Binance. Yeah. You know, if we could, I mean, some people are like, well, you know, given the situation, I don't want to be on Binance anyway. And then some people are like, well, you know.
But it's the people that get hurt, not, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And so I think that's the tough thing about this space that that people don't really realize is that, you know, as digital as we are, it's those interpersonal relationships really matter, mm-hmm. you know, and you know, Binance doesn't need us, frankly. You know, they're going to be just fine without DigiByte. And at this point, as far as, you know, if we, you know, trying to get more people into the community and raise our market share, you know, we would need them much more than they need us in that way. But I also think that we will be fine also without them. It might just take a little bit longer. So, I mean, there's a lot of different philosophies about, you know, whether we should really pursue it or try or whatever. And I think that Jared has spoken. I think CZ has spoken. And I think that they've just decided that, you know, there's not a coming together there. And that's their prerogative, you know, and really, it's a tough question, but it really does come down to, you know, these interpersonal relationships can be very tough. And keep in mind also, most people, all of these agreements and relationships are being built over texting. You know, very rarely are there conference calls or in-person situations.
And they're all screenshotted too, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just, you know, again, it's not a very, I would say the communication in this space, I think, is one of the biggest deficits.
Well, and then you also factor in the fact that it's an international market. And so,
there you go.
You know, it's not just the actual language itself. I mean, most business people around, I'm generalizing, but a lot of business people around the world, especially in crypto, they speak English. It's not their first language. But the thing that really gets missed in all this is the difference in international context. So the way I say something, I may mean something totally like a joke and sarcastic, and somebody else in my Telegram group could see that and be like, oh my gosh, this guy, you know, he said he's going to burn this project down or something. I was just saying something silly, you know. So I think the context gets lost in a lot of this too. And then when we take our cultural differences as well, because there are cultural differences between, you know, people in different countries around the world, the way that they think, you know, what they think matters, other people don't think matters, and vice versa. Some people are much more individual oriented. Other people are more team oriented and group oriented and stuff like that. So, You know, it's a messy thing when, you know, everybody's going back and forth on Telegram, and a lot of it, you know, like I said, gets screenshotted, and then you're getting, you know, secondhand stories. Somebody took something I said on Telegram one time, took a screenshot of it, and tried to misconstrue what I said, you know?
Right. So I think you totally nailed it. It's, you know, it's not simple.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to build a whole ecosystem here over Telegram, basically, that's going to revolutionize the world. People are tired. They're, you know, they're working 24/7. They've got a lot of pressure on them. And then we have a multicultural issue there as well. So yeah, I know exactly what I mean. Like the DigiByte awareness team is global, and we have this guy, I forget where he's from. I want to say he's from Eastern Europe somewhere. And we were talking about, you know, he was talking that he wasn't very good with English. And I was like, what are you talking about? And one of the team members goes, yeah, you are. Like, you get slang. And he goes, what do you mean? And so we had to explain, like, well, you understood, like, this was, and that's good English. Like, and so, but you're absolutely right. And it's one thing I would, you know, we've been trying to say to the community too, is be mindful anytime you're, you know, typing anything to anybody. You know, like, it definitely didn't help our case. You know, I know that Jared and CC, they had their own thing, but we also had a community that was just like barreling down and getting their claws out. And that also, like, if we're trying to build relationships as much as you can, even if it's just for your own investment, try to be as positive as you can. Like,
you don't want to send a death threat to fix your problem.
Right, exactly. Know? It's like you just don't know the effects of that one tweet. Like, let's say someone said something nasty to Brian Armstrong, you know, and Brian was having a really bad day, and he was like, this is the DigiByte community. You know, it's like you just don't know how it's going to be received. And not that he would do that, but it's just something to be mindful of.
Well, tact. You know, you have to be tactful.
Yes.
And, you know,
not that I'm the queen of it.
Well, I may be the king of attack, but maybe not tactful. But just kidding. I'm nice. So, okay, well, let me just sum it up like this. What do you think is more likely to happen? And I just need an A or a B here from you. A, CZ and Jared Tate apologize to each other and hug it out. Or B, CZ and Jared Tate slug it out in the octagon, UFC style. Which one's more like, just A or B?
Oh, you're killing me. I'm gonna be a hopeful optimist and say A, because I don't want them hitting each other.
I think that's the only answer.
Option C, like something middle of the road.
Okay, A, B, or option C. I just cut it off right now, and you never get to answer. No?
I think I'll take C.
Oh my God!
You're killing me.
I'm going to close my computer again. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. Let's. That is pretty much everything I want to cover with her. We got 11 minutes left, so you guys drop some questions down here if you guys have questions. Sorry if you asked them earlier and I missed them. I did see a couple earlier, but one is we've been talking about Binance here, and Outdoor Inspired, my buddy there, asked, what about Coinbase? What is the status or the hope for Coinbase? Kind of what's that looking like? You were listed on the 40 coins they were looking at. Was that right?
We were listed on something. I forget. There was like one where we all got excited for a minute because we thought that was a thing. And they're like, well, they're listing a lot of these. Basically ones to look at. Yeah, ones to look at. But we're working on that. You know, we've the community got together and donated money for a legal opinion that we're not a security, and that was presented to the CFTC labs by another one of the awareness team members this summer. So not that it means that we're not, but it just saying that, hey, we're being proactive about that, because that was definitely an issue for Coinbase for these different projects that was holding them back. We're, you know, trying to build those relationships and answer any questions that they have and make sure everything is filled out properly. So I don't think Coinbase is I wouldn't say that's off the table by any means. Definitely being pursued. So that's about all I can say is, and, you know, again, if you want to help us with that, be nice, please.
Yeah, sure. I will help you for a fee. So y'all just send me a bunch of DigiByte over, and you know,
be nice to Coinbase for us, please. Don't be like, we don't need no Coinbase.
I should make a parody video on that. So,
Don't.
so we had another question, which, you know, I feel like I kind of know the answer to, but I want to give you guys or you an opportunity to, you know, what would you say to someone that says this, which is that DigiByte's been around for 4.5 years. It's been around for a long time, and it's only at 2 cents. What are the like, how high can it go? And, you know, that was a question that we had.
Yeah, I don't, you know, when it comes to like valuation, I just like never throw numbers out there. You know, I kept my dream numbers that, you know, I write and I put in my pillowcase.
That's going to get you your
island. Yeah, it's going to, but, you know, I think it really just comes down to use cases. You know, how useful are we? You know, where can we be used? Where can we be integrated? So I definitely think we're at the beginning of that, not at the end of that life cycle. So I think that we have a lot of room to grow. And that means, I think, upward movement in price and market cap. I think that we're kind of at this undiscovered spot a little bit. It was very undiscovered until, you know, it's starting to make the news more and more and more. And so, but I think that we're at those beginning stages, and I definitely think there's room to grow. There's development afoot.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Well, and a lot of the reason why it's only 2 cents, I mean, it's the supply, right? Didn't you say it was 21
exactly.
billion?
21 billion.
Yeah, so it's 100 times, or is that 100? 1,000 times higher than Bitcoin, I guess.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's 1,000 more than
1,000 times more than Bitcoin.
So it really should. I mean, in theory, you know, Litecoin should be one fourth the price of Bitcoin, and then we should be 1/1000th the price of Bitcoin. I mean, in theory, if we did it just proportionally speaking. So if you think about it, that just proportionally speaking, you know, it's very undervalued. Like Litecoin's undervalued.
Yeah, got Litecoin. It's just dropping like a rock. I just bought a bunch of it a couple of days ago, and it's not doing so hot. I was hoping we were at the bottom, but we clearly were not. Okay, here's a question. So what would it take? We got a lot of questions about exchanges. So
sure, I'll do my best.
Yeah,
I'm not the exchange girl though, but I'll do my best.
Well, we've already talked about obviously Binance. We've talked about Coinbase. What about Abra? Do you know about Abra?
I know a little bit about it. One of our team members is much more versed in that one than I am. I downloaded the wallet and used it like this summer when it first came out, and then, you know, all these wallets kind of exhaust me after a while, so I don't go back on them.
Well, I think it's an up and coming one. I think.
Yeah,
I've been using it for, you know, some stuff with my podcast, for some.
And I'm trying to think. I don't know where we are with Abra. I could, you know, I can get that. I can get a better answer for you though, and I can respond in the YouTube.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Because I just don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you misinformation, but I can definitely check on that and respond to that question in the channel.
And then if you just send me a little message on Twitter to remind me, I'll pin it at the top so people can see that. Okay, great. Okay, here is a good question, I think. Well, we just had a brand new question, which is when Lambo. As you guys can see, the answer is right now.
That's my favorite question in the whole world.
When Lambo.
Not.
Yeah. Well, I use a lot of Lambos on my stuff, but it's supposed to be ironic. I don't know if people understand that.
Sure it is, BitBoy. Sure it is. Oh, wait, I can't hear you again.